was late 50s, 1959, and I read a book by C. Wright Mills called Power Elite. And at the same time, the Cuban Revolution was taking place. And that juxtaposition of things, as I look back upon it, was a very important thing for me in my political maturation. Because I felt that at that point, my country was run by a government that was run by an elite that had become very dominant between these terms, and was at loggerheads with what I had been taught to believe America was all about. And this was confirmed for me even more as the years went by, but certainly I think back in the 60s, and the assassination of four outstanding Americans who had vision for America to turn it in a good direction. We have John F. Kennedy and Malcolm X and Martin Luther King and Bobby Kennedy all were slaughtered. And I felt that this was an indication to me that certain forces, politically ruthless forces, were at work in the United States of America, my country. And I felt from that time on that we really needed to develop a counterforce, a new political force that went beyond both the Democrats and Republicans, because both parties, it seemed to me, were not doing the job and not up to it. That continued during the 70s and 80s for me into the 80s as important to me to find a way to develop such a political force. And we've tried a lot of different experiments and so on, in Maine, for example, and I was observing similar efforts in the country at large. But in 1983, my family and I, we went to Poland in the depths of the martial law repression of Solidarity. And we were there for 6 months. And during that time, in April, news came in that startled the world that in West Germany, a new political party had been born, the Greens of West Germany. And they had gained over 6% of the vote and 27 members of the parliament. And we stopped in West Germany on the way back, and I talked to some people I had known before, visited there, and also some other Greens and so forth. And by the fall of that year, in November, I was called on the phone by Alan Philbrook, with whom I had worked very hard to close down Maine Yankee nuclear power station twice, almost winning the second time. And he said that he was very excited. He said, "John, I've just been to Canada for the first ever Green meeting that the Canadian Greens have. And I think it's the first one in North America." So we decided between the two of us that we would call such a meeting for Maine people, people we had been associated with in social justice movements, environmental movements, anti-nuclear movements, democratic movements, and so on. And sure enough, we did call for such a meeting in early January of that year. And of course, it snowed like mad the day before. But we did meet in Augusta the next day anyway. And we had 16 people there, and we talked for about 2 or 3 hours. It was a very good meeting. And out of that, we decided to form what we called the Maine Green Party Movement. Or was it the Maine Green Movement Party? We weren't really quite sure which of the two it was. But nevertheless, in the subsequent months, we got very excited about, well, we have to go to other states and tell them also it was good news. What we've done in Maine, other states might do the same thing. We didn't know anything at all about what was happening in terms of the national thing, because we did not hear about the bioregional Congress that happened that spring. We did not hear about the St. Paul meeting in August. But we did hear about the follow-up to such a thing in Concord, New Hampshire, which we in the Maine Green Party went and attended. We met quite a few Greens. I think Howie were there, and that's where I met Howie for the first time. And after that, I'll stop, because after that I got eventually the clearinghouse that Dee was organizing got going, and I got to know Dean. I got to be a delegate from the New England Committees of Correspondence to go to the IC meeting, the International Committee meetings, and I was hooked.
Yay!